Good evening, one and all. I'd like to welcome you to the BPM platform, where once again we will be debating and raising awareness on prostate cancer and breast cancer. We have five fabulous speakers on this evening who will be sharing their experience. Jeff will be coming on very, very soon. But before Jeff starts, I want to give you my personal experience on prostate cancer. During the lockdown, the BPM had a discussion on prostate cancer, raising awareness. I should say at this particular point that I have never ever been tested at the time. We raised awareness and we encouraged a few guys to go and get tested. And after about a week or so, I realised that, hang on a minute, you're encouraging people, you're raising awareness, why don't you go and get tested? So I did. I made an appointment and visited the doctor, went to my GP first. He examined me physically and he then referred me. Obviously, he wasn't totally happy. And so he's referred me to hospital. At the time I was living in London, so I think I went to, I don't know, I think it might be the North Middlesex Hospital in Edmonton, I'm not too sure. And they'd done a PSA reading, and my PSA reading was 6 point something. The normal reading is 3 or 4. So there were one or two concerns. What they found eventually was that my prostate was enlarged. So, and one of the symptoms of an enlarged prostate is going to the toilet on a regular basis, which I was doing during the night, 2 or 3 times a night. Very concerned. At the time, my partner was pregnant with my first child. No, not my first child, my second, wasn't it? It's my second child. And I was worried. I was seriously worried. Honestly, I was thinking whether or not I'll be able to see my child being born. That's how worried I was. Made an appointment, went and got samples taken from my prostate, 24 samples, 12 on each side of my scrotum. And these 24 samples were sent away for analysis. Waited for about 2 weeks. It took 3 weeks. The 3 longest weeks of my entire life. Those 21 days was torture, mental trauma, thinking about life, thinking about what you have done, what you could have done, thinking about your children, your children's future, your children without you. I was in bits mentally, but obviously trying to show that sturdy outward look for me and everybody else around me. The results came through eventually, and all 24 samples were negative, which was a blessing. What I effectively had was an enlarged prostate. That's all I had. An enlarged prostate does make you go to the toilet on a regular basis, and it also does give you a higher than normal PSA reading. Wow. How that makes you think differently about life, because for 21 days I'm thinking I've possibly got cancer. How early is it? Is it too late? Is it on the knife edge? And then to be told that all 24 samples were negative for cancer was a massive relief. And my children are here now and enjoying every day. I'm a very late father. I'm almost 59, and I've got 3 children, 3 small children, and I'm enjoying life and enjoying being with them. So that's my personal story. Now, I have been speaking to some of our speakers this evening, and I'll be honest with you, speaking to a couple of the men, they have given me some information which I didn't know about prostate cancer, but I leave them to share their experiences because they are the experts and not myself. Okay, so let me just check because I'm getting some messages through. But okay, right. I'm just reading. One of our speakers have just messaged me. Okay, Jeff. I need Jeff to come on board. I know he's in there somewhere. Um, there you go. There's the man himself. Jeff, I've sent you a. Oh, by the way, before we speak to Jeff, I should also say that everybody is encouraged to raise their hand if you want to say a word, if you want to ask one of the panelists a direct question. We have got, from the top of my head, I think we've got 3 speakers on prostrate and 2 speakers on breast cancer. So if at any time you want to ask a direct question, please raise your hand or send a private message. And obviously, if you want to share your experiences in the Zoom chat, then please do. We want tonight to be extremely, extremely interactive. Jeff, good evening. No, Jeff, we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. We spoke the other. We spoke the other. We spoke 2 days ago. I think you logged on to your other device, didn't you? And you were able to log on. You were able to log on then. While we're waiting for Jeff, like I said, we have got the BPM. Have got Dennis Brown night this Thursday, this Sunday, sorry, and then on Saturday we have got the BPM Reggae night, and on the 11th of May we have the sickle cell debate, which, as I said, we've got several speakers on board, and again, that's going to be raising awareness and educating us all, and hopefully, people will be encouraged to give blood. That will obviously save lives. Someone says unmute Jeff. I've actually sent Jeff. He is actually unmuted. Jeff is unmuted. Please give me 2. Okay, so Jeff wants 2 minutes. So tonight we go through until 10:30, possibly even later. Well, we're definitely going to be finishing later because we're going to go through to 11 o'clock with music. So when we finish at 10:30, do not log off. We're going to go on for another 30 minutes playing music. It looks as though we might even be going on a bit further than 10:30 because obviously there is now a delay. Let me have a look. Okay, so I've got a message. Michael Brooks, where are you, sir? I can't see you on camera. Michael Brooks, where are you? Turn your camera on, I'll be able to find you. Michael Brooks, can't see you. Michael, where are you? Let me type your name in. Oh, right. In air. Okay. Michael Brooks, you've just messaged me, but I can't see your camera. It's not on. Right, there you go. Right, there you go. Unmuted. Sent you a message. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Hey, back up. I like that. I got your message. Excellent. Right, okay. So, Michael, good evening. Let everybody know who you are and what you represent, and obviously you could start your presentation this evening.
Okay, good evening all. My name is Inseer Michael Brooks. I am approaching 8 years a survivor of prostate cancer in September, God's willing.
Excellent. And obviously you've got your story to tell, obviously raising awareness and so forth. The platform's all
Yeah,
yours, sir.
right. As I mentioned to you when you asked me about joining, I am for the last 4 years now with Errol McKellar's. Um, I mentor with Errol at different meetings, and we're just so happy that we can have men coming through the door and sharing when they finally pluck the courage. Because sometimes when they turn up, bit shy, not really wanted to share, and then some of them go through the motions of sharing with us, and then they go for their operations, and one or two of them come back, and they're oh so different, you know, a lot more radiant and confident, and yeah. So in comparison to the women who can speak about anything, we're getting there slowly but surely, you know.
And why do you think that? Do you think that prostate cancer is very detrimental to the male community, black male community, because of maybe certain taboos and resistances in going to get tested?
Yeah, like you say, certain taboos, definitely. You know, we grew up in an era where we had to be seen and not heard. Sometimes you question an elder and they beat you down that you have to go read a book and keep out of big people's business and all those ones, you know?
Excellent. So, what is your story, sir?
My story, oh, as I shared with you before, in comparison to a lot of men, very lucky because I've always subjected myself to go into the doctor and get checked up. So when mine was diagnosed, it was I heard you a while ago speaking about your fears when yours was diagnosed and mentioned past your ears. Yeah, you do ponder and float around, and you do feel it's lonely and wow, you think why me and all these ones, but you can't question God. You know, you got to lift your head up and be equal to what's going on. So I was one of those said characters that, because my late mother died of cancer and cancer is rife in our family on both sides, you've got to open your mind and your heart and just be prepared, you know?
Right. And so how long ago did your journey start?
Yeah, that's what I said to you. Approaching 8 years now in September.
8 years.
Yeah,
And how regular would you advise people to actually get tested?
just go in there as soon as possible. The earlier, like myself, and you get diagnosed, you know, then hopefully you're going to come through where a lot of us are now, me included, you know? Um,
Reason why I asked
mine's
is
what?
that reason why I asked that is because I got tested what? Oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. Um, actually, yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. But I haven't been back since. So how regular should I be tested?
uh, you know, you're putting me on the spot. I'm not exactly a doctor, but look, you
Mm,
just go in at least once a year. You know, if everything is good within that year, your doctor wouldn't want to see you more than a year anyhow.
mm, mm.
But yeah, just subject yourself to go in. It's like initially you just go in, you give your bloods, which is your PSA, um, and they just monitor you off of there. Like how you said, the doctor, according to whatever Gleason count you get back, because that's how it's assessed according to your count, like you shared with us. If your count is high, then already they would have worked out more or less what procedure you will need, anyhow.
Now, obviously, I know what certain counts are and what's high and what's low. But for those who don't, give us a slight guideline as to what is the quote unquote safety
Wow.
zone.
As I said, you know, Errol would probably share with you also when he comes on, we're not really supposed to speak in the realm of a doctor. I mean, your suggestive counts will be just apparent to you when you're diagnosed.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like yours was, like mine's was. So we can't already go into the realm of sounding ourselves like a doctor because we've recovered. You can only share what your one was. Some people, if I give you an example, like we have meetings, some people's Gleason counts are so high, it's almost like you're wondering why they're still living in a lot of cases. Yeah. So, not to sort of run away from answering you, but like to share with everybody else that's online here now, men and women, it's like sometimes when you visit a doctor, it's it's like almost you're dead, but you're still living. If I can say that without laughing, it's very serious.
Okay, so let me ask you like a personal question. So what made you go and get tested?
Well, personal question. So I am now 64 this year, and I think when I went in like at 55 years old, it's because a late school friend of mine's had already passed with bowel cancer. So I just thought, look, you know what? We've made it to 50 summer and haven't really been visiting the doctor. So we went in and the doctor looked at me and he said, oh my God, here's the one, like you don't look like this age at the moment on the screen, what is suggesting in front of me. So anyhow, like I said, he sent me for the bloods. And then after that, when he diagnosed with the count, which was like, what was it? It was like something like 7 or something. So that's like worrying. So
Mm.
then after that, I went for, like yourself, I had a search by the doctor. And again, he said, right, you know what? We'll send you for MRI scan. And then that's when it actually came to, like, it was visual for the doctor and myself. So the doctor can say, look, you've got two little particles. Like for men, it would be like in the area where your hernia is, or could be. So under your waist. So already now approaching 55 and put a bit of weight on like this. Yeah, he said, look, MRI. And yeah, so that was diagnosed. And two little dots were sort of like indicated. So if you leave that yourself, if I didn't go back now, like you're asking me, within that year after being assessed, I probably may not have been here.
I know exactly how you feel. As I said, and how long were you waiting for your results?
Well, like you shared a while ago before we got to this phase where I'm on here now, it's I can't even remember how long. It wasn't a lengthy time,
Mm.
but already, like you said, and I can adhere to that as well. It's worrying. You're wondering, like you talk about your kids. So I'm a grandfather, so I think I had one grandson at that time. So now, in my recovery now, I have now 6 other grandkids. So someone asked me once, well, how did you feel? It's like how you answered. It's like for me, it's like that was the actual time that I wanted to live, to see the grandkids and to live.
Mm.
So when you asked me, I was just prepared to go through whatever gate, whatever hurdle, and just go through the recovery process. And then with my partner, my missus was right there with me, and it was excellent.
And having that support beside you obviously was invaluable.
Still is,
Yes, yes,
you know,
it's a forever.
because like you've always got to be fair, DJ Harvey. It can change just like a light switch. So it can all go wrong after tonight's conversation for any one of us.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, as I said, the phrase like "life is too short," you got to live it to the full, because you just never, ever, ever know what's around the corner. Um, okay, and is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Look, just live life and enjoy life the best we can, because it's like, as you can see now with various people, it doesn't matter with the numbers, we all seem to be like just dropping off these days. I lost my baby sister at the beginning of this year, January. Is like one of the most horrific years that I've had started. It's just, so I'm the only remaining one in the family, mum and dad and all that lot gone. And so such is the life. Just keep your head up, keep your heart full, be merry, and, you know, laugh, share
Yes,
laughter with people. Yeah.
absolutely. As we get older, as we start in hitting the 60s and 70s, all of a sudden people start dropping because obviously it's our era,
Yeah,
and obviously your mum and dad are like 20 years older, and you tend to be going to funerals on a regular basis, unfortunately.
absolutely.
Sir, I'd like to thank you very much for your input this evening. Much
Yeah, thanks for
appreciated.
having me. Like we shared, you know, wherever myself, Errol, yourself, anybody that can help to make men more comfortable and you know, approachable. You know, they've got to be just as approachable as us. The fear and the ignorance sometimes is challenging, but you know, we keep on keeping on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Right. Bless you, DJ.
No worries. Cheers. Jeff Thompson, good evening.
Evening.
Aha, we have sound. Fantastic. Good to see
Thanks
you.
for your patience.
Not a problem, not a problem. That's what happens when you do Zoom. The gremlins, these things are just standard procedure. There are some people, I'm sure, logging on tonight for the very first time on Zoom, wondering how to work it. So, no, it's good to see you. Right, sir. Again, just like Michael Brooks, just introduce yourself and then share your story.
Sure. Hi. Once again, I would say thank you all for your patience. My name is Jeff Thompson, and I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2018. Now, unlike Michael, my journey was totally different. As most men's journey with prostate cancer is different. We all have prostate cancer, but we experience different, journeys. Now, when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was not relatively, I was extremely surprised because I'm one, who was very fit, didn't drink, smoke, or anything of that nature. So I thought, cancer is not a thing that's going to catch me. To be totally honest, I wasn't even thinking about prostate cancer. A friend of mine, who was my sparring partner, where we used to do a lot of kickboxing together, I hadn't seen him for approximately 3 weeks. So I had no one to kick around in the gym. So I was a little bit, disappointed. I happened to, met him again on the high street, and he was walking extremely strangely, a bit like John Wayne. So I approached him and I said to him, hey, why are you walking like that? You're walking as if, your middle leg's too heavy for you. Obviously, he took me aside and laughed. And then he said to me, look, Jeff, I've had prostate cancer. That was a shock to me. So when he explained to me, how he was diagnosed, I decided to myself, well, I need to go the next day. So he's someone that didn't, I saw him as someone who's very fit himself. However, I went to the doctors the next day and only to be told, what are you coming here for? Why do you need a PSA blood test? I mean, I was a little bit surprised because I thought, every man was, had the right, to go and get tested. So, however, he went on and asked me questions, I answered them. And then he decided, okay, we'll do the PSA blood test. PSA stands for prostate specific antigen. Now, he done this blood test and said to me, okay, do you mind if I do a DRE? Now, at that point, I thought, a DRE, what is that? Basically, he then explained it's a direct rectal examination. I said to myself, so you're going to put your finger somewhere that the sun don't shine? Yeah, that's what he said. Now, I don't generally look at men's hands, but this time I looked at this doctor's hands and I was like, whoa, I've never seen fingers so big. And I thought, he's going to put this up my anus. I tightened up my buttocks so tightly that honestly, if I walked, I would squeak. I was so embarrassed and, felt to myself, oh my God, what's going to happen here? Anyway, eventually, I just thought to myself, look, it's just me and the doctor here. Okay, no one's gonna know what's going on. Eventually, he did the examination, and upon doing the examination, he went, "Oh my God," just like that. So obviously, that made me a little bit concerned. I said to him, "What's wrong?" He said, "Your prostate is lumpy." I thought, okay. He said, "Your prostate should be smooth, very smooth." He looked at me and said, "Look, I know you've been coming back here, on a few occasions for back pains because of the exercise I was doing, so much working out." He figured that, I just needed, physiotherapy. Now, those back pains I've had was going on for 10 years. Never thought nothing of it. He then said to me, "That's also one of the signs of prostate cancer." Because I did not have erectile dysfunction. I did not have blood in my urine. I had no problems. I wasn't getting up at nighttime and rushing to the toilet and any urgency whatsoever. Now I decided, okay, what are we going to do here? He said, "We're going to have to organize a biopsy." And for the life of me, everything was happening so fast. He got on the phone and he contacted the hospital direct and said, "Can we organize for an emergency biopsy?" Now, when I heard the word emergency, I started to worry. We had the biopsy. I was told it'll take about, a week or so, 2 weeks to get the results back. I got the results back in 3 days. I thought, okay, this must be procedure. Now, this was in March. I was diagnosed in 2018. I went back to the doctor and I sat there with the oncologist and also Macmillan nurse for them to give the outcome of the biopsy. They then said to me, "Did you come by yourself?" I said, "Yes." "Come on, let's get on with it. Let's find out what's happening here." Done the biopsy, sitting here in front of the, oncologist. He then said, "Okay, Mr. Thompson, let's get straight to the point. You've got prostate cancer." When he told me that, I don't know if you guys could imagine what it's like on the movies. Everything just zoned out. All I was hearing is cancer. Oh my God, I'm going to die. How is this possible? I even accused them of giving me prostate cancer, especially through the biopsy. You went up through the anus and you went over here, you contaminated my prostate, so on and so forth. Eventually, I came to terms with the fact that I've got prostate cancer. I'm cutting my story rather short because we haven't got a lot of time. Now, this was March 2018. I was therefore diagnosed, going at the end of March. I then decided, look, I want to be, I want to take this prostate out, remove it, because I want nothing in my body that says cancer. So we booked an appointment for August of that year, 2018. I got a phone call relatively soon saying that there's an appointment on the 6th of April, and we suggest that you take this appointment. Fair enough. I decided I'll take the appointment. So on the 6th of April, instead of waiting until August, 6th of April, this is all in the space of 2 weeks. I was having my prostate removed. Now I ended up in hospital. I had a robotic surgery. From the robotic surgery, I was only meant to be in hospital no more than 1 day, maximum 2, if anything. I was in hospital for almost 2 weeks. Now, this is the reason being because I wasn't able to pass feces, so they weren't allowing me to go home. However, while I was in the hospital, there was another gentleman in front of me who said to me, "Look, I've had prostate cancer. My operation is successful." So we talked through the night, not literally all the night. And then he said he's tired. And he said, "Okay, when we get out, we're going to have a drink and celebrate." He didn't wake up the next day. I found out he was dead. He passed away in the night. Now, that made me extremely frightened. I needed to get out of the hospital because I didn't want to see all of this. Anyway, I did leave the hospital eventually after eating some mango that helped me to, go to the toilet. And I got home. That was another story. When I got home, I found myself isolated. I felt like I was in a production line in the hospital, next, and I was out. Even though information was given to me, I wasn't able to absorb it because of the speed things were going. However, I was told that I should walk as much as I can, exercise and so on. I had to wear pads and I felt like a child again. I felt so demeaning. However, I wear the pads. They told me, you must go out and exercise. I decided to put these pads on, went out. Nobody told me not to wear certain color type of trousers. Anyway, got my pads on, put my trousers on, went out, and walking down the high street, a friend of mine, practical joker, tooted his horn. Now I was suffering with stress incontinence and urge incontinence. He tooted his horn. I felt a sudden burst of urine in the pads that I had on. But remembering what they told me, I thought nothing of it. It's not going to leak out. I was wrong, because that sudden burst of urine kept flowing. And I was wearing khaki trousers on a hot summer's day. The urine ran down the side of my leg and into my trainers. It was so evident I'd wet myself. There was young people in front of me at the time from school, laughing and jeering. All I was interested in, have they got a mobile phone? That's all that I was concerned about, because I did not want to go viral. I decided to tunnel vision and I went home, closed my curtains. I switched off my phone, switched off the TV, anything to do with the outside world. I wanted no access to it. And that's why I sat there and I decided to contemplate suicide. I decided to take the tablets that the doctor has given me, and I put all of them in my hand and I put them in my mouth. I don't drink, but I had a bottle of Ray and Nephew beside me, and I decided to make it quicker. I'm going to drink that. And that's what I did. I drank the bottle of Ray and Nephew, and I thought to myself, yeah, I'm going to die. I was looking forward to it because I felt useless to myself and to the world. And as I lay there waiting, for death to take me, the heat that was going through my body, the pain that I was experiencing, but it's really strange. It felt satisfying that I'm actually going to die. But, it weren't meant to be. I survived and I'm here. I threw up, everything came out, I survived. And then from then, I decided to contact many other men that I knew went through the same experience as myself. And we formed a group called Cancer, Don't Let It Win, a support group for Black men going through prostate cancer. That brought the attention to me that yet we may heal the body, but what about the mind? The mind takes so much longer to heal. We may have cancer and, we've been told you're cancer free, but that little doubt in the back of your mind is always there. Will it ever come back again? Yeah. I've got over 1,700, members that I've reached out to my group. And out of those 1,700, 38 men who are under the age of 40 that's diagnosed with prostate cancer. So prostate cancer is no longer what they call an old man's disease. And I only wish that my father, when I found out had prostate cancer, had taught me more about prostate cancer rather than just talk about his waterworks. So I'm here reaching out to people, sending out an awareness for every Black man that I know that I could come across, helping to educate and bring them to the point of don't let fear and embarrassment be the death of you. And talking is one of the first steps to your healing. If you don't talk, nobody knows what you're going through. We've also, I'm also affiliated with Prostate Cancer UK as a, peer one-to-one peer support volunteer. And I remember myself, Errol McKellar, and a few others, we had a Black Consensus meeting. And this was to bring, the awareness of prostate cancer a little bit more to our community. I heard you ask earlier on about, what age or when should someone go and get tested and so on. As we know that they say Black men, we should get tested from age 45 and so on, yeah? But that's actually now changed to the point that if you have a family member that has prostate cancer, okay, or history, right, you're eligible to go to the doctor and talk about the prostate PSA blood test at any age, especially if you had your mom or your sister or someone in the family that's had the BRCA genes, Okay, BRCA genes is if someone's had ovarian cancer or breast cancer. It's something that follows down the bloodline. So it's very important for men to go and get tested at an earlier stage if you have a family history. I think you should stop me there because I'm passionate about, prostate cancer, and, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Yeah, you spoke about first and foremost, like, wow, that was an amazing story. You've got a support group, you said. Tell us a bit more about that one, because obviously there are men listening right now who would love to be part of a support group. Tell us a bit about that and what it offers to your subscribers and how much of a strength it could be.
Right. The support group that I run one support group, one in Lewisham, Brixton, Croydon, Vauxhall, Brighton, and Birmingham. Okay. And what we do, we get men together. Okay. And they share each other's journey. They share each other's stories. Okay, so we would normally put a particular guy on a spotlight. So we say, look, okay, John, you're going to be talking today about your journey with prostate cancer. John stands up, he expresses himself, others ask questions and share their experiences. Other men will come and say, look, I've got erectile dysfunction. How did you get over it? Yeah, so it's all about supporting each other, asking questions. We invite women also to come along, because as much as men are going through prostate cancer, our partners, wives, and so on, they are sharing the same burden. So it's very important to have a good form of support team. So I'm available on Instagram. We have a WhatsApp group. I'm not sure if it's placed in your chat at the moment, but we're just there to support everybody. I also go to schools, colleges, and university and bring the awareness of prostate cancer to our younger community, because sex education is taught to young people from the age of 10 upwards, but yet they're not taught about the prostate. And without the prostate, we know there's a problem in helping to produce, life. The prostate is very important, and I think it's as important as the sperm that leaves the man's testicles, because without that, it leaves the testicles, goes up into what? It should go up into the prostate to form semen, and then for the semen to be formed and then released through the urethra. There's no prostate there. So it's very important, I believe, for young people as well to understand and learn the awareness of prostate cancer. Here's one thing I could quickly say. My son, armed with a camera, goes out in the high street, and he generally just goes out and asks questions. He asked this gentleman, excuse me, do you know where I could find the prostate? The gentleman looked at him, he was 55 years old, and said to my son, I'm not sure it's in this country. It sounds like somewhere really far. Now that's a gentleman that's 55. You know what that shows me? A lot of us men do not know what a prostate is or what it is capable of until it goes wrong. I think it's important for us men to take a leaf out of the women's book and get tested. Seek advice if you don't know. Errol McKellar's got his foundation. God bless him. He's been there. He's also an inspiration to me. I watched Errol, from way back when, and seeing what he's doing to try and bring everyone together is a fantastic job. And that's what we all need to do. Even though I have a support group, he has a support group, coming together creates strength. And we as Black people, 1 in 4 of us Black men will have prostate cancer. That's a pandemic in itself. But why is something more not being done about it? Men, we need to talk more. We need to have these conversations so that it becomes normal. If you're in the pub or wine bar, I like to be able to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to get my prostate checked. And there's no shame or embarrassment in that. Erectile dysfunction stops a lot of men from going to get tested. But little do they know, you can recover from that. There is a lot of other, treatments out there to help bring a man back to the point of being able to, satisfy his partner within the bedroom. So it's not cancer itself. And I'm a living example of it, and also the gentleman that went before me, is not a death sentence if caught early. There's a gentleman I know, his PSA levels is 509. He has metastatic prostate cancer all over him, but he's still out there pushing the awareness of prostate cancer.
I find it incredible regarding a reading of 500. My reading was 6, almost 7, and apparently the norm is around about 2 or 3. A reading of 500 seems, it's just mind-blowing.
It is. My reading was 4.2.
Wow.
Which basically I was stage 3. The reason they'd rushed my my operation, according to the surgeon, I was just bordering over into stage 4 prostate cancer. Now, something like that, you know, is terrifying enough in itself to know that the cancer has left the prostate. That's when the journey of recovery is slightly different. But I was glad that I was, you know, fast-tracked into getting my surgery done, because I'm here today living to tell this story. And this is not my purpose. I do nothing more, nothing less than to share the awareness of prostate cancer.
And before you go, I just want you to touch on a subject about what is stopping particularly black men from getting tested.
I think from what I've been hearing from the guys in my group, a lot of it is fear. And not necessarily fear to say I've got prostate cancer. Fear because of what they think the side effects will be. The main thing is sexual incompetence. It really does knock a lot of men. I've heard so many men said to me, I'd rather not know I got prostate cancer because I ain't gonna be having that worrying on my head and I can't have sex. I'd rather die having sex, yeah, than to be cured of prostate cancer. Those kind of comments just make me laugh. The urine problem, the stress incontinence, urge incontinence, that's not the problem. Because a lot of men will sit there and say, well, I'm gonna be, excuse my French, pissing myself every day, can't control my urine. But there is ways of getting over it eventually. Nothing stays the same forever. So fear and embarrassment is one of the main causes, a lot of what I believe, a lot of men, why they don't go and get tested, and lack of knowledge, not realizing what is out there for them. Because as black men, we should be getting tested regularly, at least once a year.
And if anything, not only with prostate, but obviously when Charmaine comes on and Natasha talks about breast cancer, it's just getting into that regularity of getting tested and let it be instinctive rather than being push.
Yeah,
it should be like a regular thing that should be a default thing every year.
Most definitely. We have this question where people say, why is it that so much of us men, black men, are getting prostate cancer? I hear that question every day. I ask myself that question every day. But there must be a reason out there. There must be an answer.
Do you think that a lot of it to do, especially in the black community, is that ego, alpha, Caribbean male type of attitude? Nothing is going to hurt me. I'll drink a bit of rum and I'll be okay, Jack. That sort of attitude.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that. We call those myths. And I'm actually doing a comedy night on the 1st of June at a place called the Front Room in Croydon called Myth Busting. So busting all those myths where we have a lot of men will say to me, I drink green tea and black pepper, so I will never get prostate cancer. I have regular sex, so I'll never have prostate cancer. Another one is that I am a Christian, so God will never allow me to have cancer. And it goes on and on.
And also there's another classic one, a bush tea from Jamaica or some Jamaican remedy that the great grandma done. or something. All
Yeah.
these myths.
I don't believe to myself, I will never knock someone for taking the herbal medicine, okay? Now, there's a thing called prevention is better than cure. Now, my sister-in-law had breast cancer, and she refused to take the traditional medicine to help her. And she had breast cancer, let's say, by 6 months, she died. Yeah, another gentleman that I know, he had prostate cancer. He said to me, you know, as a Rastafarian, I just do ITAL. Everything's good. Everything's good. He refused to have treatment. And then he passed away. So there is something there that is not always herbal remedies that's going to cure you. Medicine's there for a reason. I think I should,
Yes, no, you've been an absolute fantastic presentation. And yeah, I'd just like to thank you very much for being on a BPM this evening. Very enlightening, very educational. Somebody did post to post your details in, yeah, post the support group details in the chat, which I'm sure that you'll do once you've come off.
Most definitely.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you. Denise.
Hi, I think I'm not sure what's happening with that video there, but in any event, how is everyone?
Denise, I'm going to stop you there because the sound quality is not very, very good at all.
Oh.
No, it's not good. Okay, yeah, I'm going to pause you there. Candy. Now, Candy, is your hand... Let me just unmute Candy because I'm not too sure whether or not Candy accidentally put her hand up or she purposely put her hand up. If not, Charmaine's going to be coming on next. No, okay, so let me do what Denise was...
Test, can you hear?
Yeah, it's a bit echoey.
Echoey, can you hear?
Yes.
No? Yes?
Okay, yes. So what's been going on inside the Zoom chat?
Okay, well, you know what? There's been some great conversation. Jeff, Natalie Pinnock says, thank you so much, Jeff. Powerful, very powerful. Donna B as well. Maxine, well done, Jay. Earl, well done, Jeff. It's been my experience. Enlarged prostate, every year a blood test. It's important. So yeah, that was Earl expressing how important it is to get tested every year. There are individuals asking for the details for the support groups to be posted in the chat.
Okay. I believe we've got a comment from Candy.
Candy, yes, she had a wonderful comment. Get into that one.
I'll find it for
yes.
you. Yeah.
My goodness, Jeff Thompson, what a brave and powerful brother you are. What a testimony. Thank you so much for sharing your experience in such an honest and authentic way. You're amazing. May the Creator continue to bless you abundantly.
Exactly. Okay. We're going to leave it there. Again, the sound quality is not the best, so we're going to pause it there. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Denise.
Yes, I'll check it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we move swiftly to Charmaine. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Well, how do I follow Jeff? So my name's Charmaine. I am a breast care nurse. I work in screening at St George's in Tooting. I have been a Macmillan nurse before that for 15 years. So I've looked after breast cancer patients from diagnosis through all treatments to end of life. And the reason I'm here today is to give you the top tips regarding breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. So I have got a presentation and then I'm happy to take some questions, and then Nat is going to come on after me and give the patient's perspective. So I'm just going to see if I can share my slides.
Yep, sounds good. Looks good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get, yeah. Can everyone see that?
Yep, certainly.
Right, let me just go back. So that one just explains who I am and why I'm here. So the next one, yeah. So breast cancer awareness is usually October, but I've got this big thing about breast cancer awareness, just like Black History Month is only one month. No, it should be every month. So I try and promote that women should be aware of their breasts, and also to bring in here that men do get breast cancer as well. 55,000 plus women get diagnosed every year, and 370, it's probably 380 men get diagnosed with breast cancer every year. And I have met several in my time. And the thing about men being diagnosed with breast cancer is that they are sitting there going, it's a woman's disease. Why have I got it? Nobody's ever told me I was going to get breast cancer. I prefer to have prostate than I would to have breast. And I've had a patient who had breast cancer, couldn't have any sex with his wife, do anything, and had to get counselled, and then came running up to me a couple of years later going, I've got prostate cancer. It's a male disease. I'm a man again. Luckily, it was a watch and wait, and he was fine, but that's how much psychologically having breast cancer as a man did for him. So let's get away from only breast awareness in October, and let's think about it all the time. So the top tips in breast cancer: knowledge is power. Do your research. Now, Jeff was talking about BRCA1, BRCA2. That is a gene that makes your family more, the percentage of you getting breast cancer is higher in your family if you have the BRCA1, BRCA2 gene. However, with Caribbeans, Black, African, Asian even, if you don't know your family history, you don't know if people in your family have had breast cancer. Now, I've been doing cancer since 1987. And even within my family, they've gone, oh, uncle's just got a little something in his throat. A little something in his throat is cancer. It's my job. I know what it is. I don't know what you're hiding it for. Our family is full of prostate cancer, but no one talks about it. I talk about it, but my uncles and that lot do not talk about it. We've got blood cancer running through our family, but no one talks about it. But I talk about it, and I make sure my cousins are aware of it. It is very important. I've had patients whose grandmothers haven't told them that their mum died young of breast cancer, and it has affected their treatment of them doing what they're doing now. And then the grandmother tells them later, and it's too late. So family history is really important. You need to know. And it's important not only for cancer, it's important for diabetes, it's important for blood pressure, it's important for if someone's had a stroke. It is really important that you know your family history. Being breast aware, women need to know what's going on in the breast. You need to know what's normal for you. Therefore, you'll know when something is off. You need to go to your GP. Jeff talked about it, that people go to their GPs and the GP says, well, I don't think so, it's all right. And they go away and they never go back. No, if you're worried, you go back, you be persistent. Our parents' generation would say, yes, doctor, no, doctor, 3 bags full, doctor. No, we're not there anymore. Doctors are wonderful, but they're a jack of all trades and sometimes a master of none, but they are the gatekeepers for you getting to the hospital. So you need to be insistent. Attend breast screening, I'll talk about that. Keep physically active, avoid being overweight, eat healthy, stop smoking, reduce your alcohol intake, all or stop? Good question. So 1 in 7 women develop breast cancer, and it's a lifetime risk. So usually it's less in the younger women, and typically breast cancer is seen as a white middle class disease. However, in the Black community, it could be diagnosed early, and it could be diagnosed more aggressive. And the reason why that is being researched left, right, and centre. Anecdotally, I would say it may be down to fear, not talking about it, not knowing your family history, and knowing that you should be more breast aware of what's happening and know what's what. And even if you said, right, there's 6 people in my family who had breast cancer, when you get to the GP and he says you don't need to go to the family history clinic, and you walk away, that's when you need to be insistent. And they want to do a family tree. So you need to know exactly when someone had their breast cancer, what age they were, what happened to them, did any of the sisters have it, did any of the cousins have it, all that sort of information, which can be quite daunting. So, I've gone too far, let me go back previous. So, knowledge is power. Do your own research. Do not just take hearsay. Go to Google, but don't listen to Google alone. Go to dedicated websites. So Breast Cancer Now is one of the biggest charities. Very good peer-reviewed information. Cancer Research UK, Macmillan, even the NHS website is brilliant when it comes to cancer. Copperfield is a, sorry, I'm just going to move something out of the way. Copperfield is a younger person's, thank you, a younger person's charity, started by a young girl who felt a lump, was working away, took no notice of it. By the time she came back to be checked out completely, the cancer had already moved to other areas in her body. So she was a metastatic presentation. And we also have, in the last few years, another one that's dedicated to Black women called Black Women Rising. So go in, find your information, know what you're looking for, and ask your questions. So I've talked about family history. This is one of my big things I sort of bang on about. If you're concerned, go to your GP. Talk to the family about accurate information. Then you go, and everything's online, you know, everything's on the phone now, post-COVID, whereas before you used to go into clinic. So they need to, as I said, need to know who had breast cancer, but also it's not only breast cancer, Jeff alluded to it, it's also prostate cancer. So, and it's either side of the family, it's not just down the female line. I've had patients who are BRCA1 and 2, and it's down the father side, and only the boys are affected, not the girls. So it's any cancer. Nowadays, there are so many new genetic ones coming through. Any cancer in the family, if there's more than 1 or 2, it needs to be checked out just to be sure. And that's why the clinics are there. So don't think you're overloading them. That's another thing about Black Caribbean and South Asian people, that we feel we don't want to bother the doctors because we know they're very busy. They get paid to be busy. Nurses get paid to be busy, okay? Not very well, but they get paid to be busy. So there's different levels of risk. A general population, anybody can get breast cancer. Moderate is a little bit higher, and high risk, that's when we would talk about maybe doing preventative surgery like Angela Jolie, who had her breasts off. They might talk about taking the womb or the ovaries away, but there's all decisions that have to be made and they have to be counselled. It's not something that you think you can, yeah, that's fine, I'll do that tomorrow, because there's consequences of everything that we do. Sorry, went too fast. So previous. So high risk families, BRCA1, BRCA2, they're usually monitored yearly. They can have, if they're young enough, they'll have MRIs. If they're older, they have mammograms. They get genetically tested, and then the consequence of that genetic testing is, do they do the surgery or do they watch and wait? There's definitely counselling that goes on. I talked about reduced risk-reducing surgery. And some of the ladies will say, I don't want both my breasts off because I want to have children and I want to breastfeed, which is a woman's right. So I'm never going to say, no, you shouldn't. But they're counselled about what would happen if the cancer came along and what it would mean. And sometimes we give them tablets like tamoxifen, which is a drug that dampens down the estrogen in their body, that is sometimes used as a chemo. It's not chemotherapy, but it's a chemo prevention to try and stop the cancer coming. So, being breast aware, touch, look and check. I've had patients who they didn't feel that lump, but their partner felt it or their boyfriend felt it. And I've had a couple even on their honeymoon has been felt. So you need to know what's normal for you. And then if there's anything different, you go to your GP. So know what's normal for you, look and feel, know what changes to look for, report the changes to your GP, and early detection is key. So we can talk about lumps. Not every lump that you feel is a cancer. It can be a fibroadenoma, which is a bit of fibrous tissue. It can be a cyst. It could be just a bit of fat. It could be anything, but it could also be cancer. So people think, well, if I haven't got a lump, I've got cancer. But there are other reasons or other signs. So you have discharge from the nipple. Obviously, if you're breastfeeding and milk's coming out, that's not discharge. But you can have a milky discharge that isn't anything to do with cancer. But if you've got blood coming out of your nipple, that's not normal, unless your partner's bitten you. But I'm telling you, most of the time it ain't normal. Dimpling is where it goes in like a dimple in your cheeks and a dimple in your breast. Something's pulling that skin in. Now, it could be a cyst, could be a fibroadenoma, but it could be cancer pulling that skin in. You can have breast pain. Now, this is quite controversial about breast pain. If you're 45, 50, 55 and go through the menopause, you get breast pain all the time. But what we talk about is persistent pain. So someone could have a really large cancer that they're ignoring. They could get pain, or you could be going through your menopause and getting pain. But if it's persistent, you need to go to your GP and let them check it out. When I talk about nipple retraction or inversion, is if you're normally an outie and suddenly one goes in, there's something pulling it in. If you're normally an innie, so your nipples go in and then suddenly it's being pushed out, there's something pushing it out. It's not normal. It's not how it normally is. Any redness that's there persistently, if you're breastfeeding, you get mastitis, that's normal. But if you're not breastfeeding and there's a redness there and it's painful, it could be a cancer. It can be a very aggressive cancer as well. Change in the skin, if you've got breast cancer in the breast, under your armpits are your lymph nodes. And if they're swollen, sometimes that means cancer's moved to the armpits, one side or both, and it could be cancer. And any swelling. So everyone should know that one breast is bigger than the other. Learn which one's bigger than the other. And then if it suddenly swaps, something's making it bigger. Okay, I've talked about it all. Lumps in the collarbone, breast, those, redness, done that. So if you get to go to the GP and you're resistant to get to clinic, they will do a clinical examination. If you're a certain age, if you're under 40, they probably won't do a mammogram because it gives us a false reading. You definitely will see a clinician, you'll have an ultrasound, and then if they find something that they think, I'm not sure about that, then you'll have a biopsy. When that goes to the lab under the microscope, and then we know whether we've got cancer or not. Screening. This is a national program. This is my part of my job. Women are screened from 50 to 71. You'll have the mammograms every 3 years, 2 views on both breasts, get read. If there's nothing there, you never get called back. If you get called back, you're seen in clinic, and we do exactly what I just said in the in clinic. Over 70, 71, we stop inviting you. Now, people say, why'd you do that? Because when screening first started in the 60s, they stopped at 55 and 60. So we've pushed it to 71. We've done research recently for the younger and the older. So we're waiting for that research to come out to hopefully push it further. But at the moment, we're still waiting. This is what a mammogram looks like. Some people don't go because they say it's painful. I will say that take a couple of paracetamol before you go. It could save your life. So keep healthy, active. DJ Harvey, I'm going to have to go for a minute. Can I come back?
Yep,
Sorry.
Yep.
Give me a sec.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem. Now, while Charmaine's leaving for a few minutes, there are a few questions in the chat which I will pose to her regarding Donna, high-risk family. Is this age specific? i.e. my dad had cancer at 90. Will this be similar for family members? Candy's also got a question. Should women be getting an annual mammogram privately? Would you recommend this as opposed to NHS every 3 years or whatever it is? And I think there was another question. Like I said, all your questions will be put to Charmaine and Natasha, who will be coming on straight after. And then after Natasha, we've got Errol back with prostate cancer. Charmaine, yes. I've got, once you finish, we've got a few questions that people are posing, so we'll deal with that afterwards.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So keeping physically active is really important. Let me just put it out there. Breast cancer is not the biggest, not breast cancer, but cancer is not the biggest killer in this country. It is heart disease. So people who have strokes, heart attacks, arrhythmias, all of that. So my thing is about keeping active. If you keep active, you will lower your risk of breast cancer. It improves your mental well-being. Errol talked about that. Going to the gym. I mean, for me, talk about gym, I'm like, but I'll go and do a Zumba class anytime. Going for a brisk walk, not only on the road, but in the parks and being out with nature. Now, we've learned, especially during COVID, getting out into the woods, into nature, going to Kew Gardens, getting fresh air is good for you. It's good for your mental health and it's good for your well-being. So riding, dancing. Oh, dancing. Do a bit of dance, 30 minutes. Get BMP on, you're fine. BPM on, you're fine. Hiking, jogging, Tai Chi, tennis, football, netball. And it doesn't have to be active. You know, netball that you used to do at school, they've got walking netball, they've got walking football, just to keep active.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, on that, Charmaine, I've seen a few online videos. I've seen reggae Zumba, I've seen Soca Zumba, things that you absolutely love doing, but at the same time keeping fit and enjoying music at the same time. You cannot go wrong with things like that. And I'm sure
you can't do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Absolutely.
a lot of these organisations not too far from you if you do a little bit of research,
Yeah, and it's all online as well, because last August I did a Macmillan dance for the month, and it just said you had to do 20 minutes of exercise a day, which at first was a bit of a chore, but by the end I was really enjoying it, and I lost a few pounds, so I need to go back to it. But there's so much online and on YouTube, on Instagram, that people can easily tap into.
And also, So I want to throw a massive spanner in the works here, because every now and again I like to throw a spanner in, and this is going to be a big one. Brace yourself. One of your points regarding how to keep healthy was to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the big spanner in the works is within the black community. I'm talking about in general now. In general, do we eat healthy? Because our food, getting everybody around, and what we eat, essentially is not healthy.
So my answer to that is portion. Okay.
That's good.
We have been brought up on big plate of rice and peas, meat, and a little bit of it. Okay.
And a lot of sweet stuff regarding
And
drink.
all right.
Yeah.
So you need to, and that's why we have a lot of us that are diabetic, including myself. Okay. So you need to look at your portions, increase your veg portion for sure, stop using salt. I mean, I went to an evening where they were like, why are you using vegetable oil? Because vegetable ain't got no oil. Why are you not using olive oil, more natural oils, or not even using oil at all? Seasonings, why are we not using lemon? We know thyme, so we should be in thyme, basil, all the other natural herbs.
So all those Jamaican seasoning and all-purpose seasoning, and
have you seen how much salt content's in them?
this is what I was saying. This is what I'm trying to say.
But this is about education. So we're talking about it now. People go and look on your all-purpose seasoning and all that sort of stuff. See how much salt's in there. Why not make your own? Make it more you know what's gone in it.
Veronica is asking. Yeah, sorry. Veronica Green is asking, is sugar a killer too?
Sugar in moderation, and you've got your natural sugars and you've got your so if we want to go back to basics, we shouldn't even be having takeaway. We should be only cooking our own food, because the takeaway food has got fat, sugar, so all these things to make you want it more. KFC's the worst one. Make your own at home. You know what's in it. And I don't even cook, so even I have sisters that do it. But this, if you want to go back to basics, sugar, and Caribbeans, we chew sugar cane. Natural sweetness, but not too much of it. All our puddings, all the coconut drops.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, everything was made with carnation milk and evaporated milk.
However, as my sister who's just come up from Grenada tells me, it's when you haven't got a fridge, that's your milk. So economically, I'm not going to tell someone who hasn't got a fridge that you shouldn't be using carnation milk. Yeah, they shouldn't be. And evaporated milk. But if you haven't got a fridge, that's what you've got to use, isn't it? Anyway, so that's what we have to take into account. We're lucky. We're here. We've got everything. And we're still abusing our bodies.
Okay.
Is that all right? Can I continue now?
Yeah, the spanner has been thrown. It's got mangled up, and we move on.
So, straight on to 5 a day, fruit and veg. Now, controversial about fruit. If you're diabetic, you actually can't have. There's a lot of sugar in fruit that's bad for you. So, you've got to keep be moderate about eat more veg than fruit. Moderate portion sizes, and the other thing about us Caribbeans is you're not supposed to leave anything on your plate. I have a friend who's British but married to a Brazilian, and they argue constantly because he's like us, eat everything that's on your plate, don't waste anything, and she's like, I've had half my dinner, half my plate full, I'm not eating anymore. So he comes along and finishes her plate. But we're in that mindset. That's how we were brought up. there's children starving in Africa. You must finish your plate. Isn't it, Donna? That's what we were taught. A balanced diet, not all not all carbs. Know what's supposed to be on your plate. Variety, color, make it, reds, beetroot, other vegetables that make it appealing. That's when you'll enjoy your food, is when you've made a night, not just coming in and think, oh, I'm having pasta again tonight with some tomato, with some sauce on it and maybe some tuna. That's boring. Plan your dinners. Batch cook if you're thinking, oh, I can't face doing it every night. Batch cook and put it in the freezer. Less dairy. So a lot of people, as they've got older, are getting allergic to dairy or having bowel problems because of dairy. And so a lot of people are using alternatives. The youngsters now are drinking almond milk, oat milk, you name it, any other milk than cow's milk. So be aware. And actually, one of the other things that people are doing now is go and get tested if you've got allergies to anything, because those allergies could be upsetting your gut health. And definitely eat more fish. So if we were back home in the Caribbean, everybody eats more fish than actually meat most of the time, because that's big money. Only if someone's getting married are you getting goat nowadays. So eat more fish and eat pulses. There's nothing wrong with ITAL food. Let me go previous. So avoid being overweight. The thing with breast cancer is that excess fat actually produces more hormones. And if your cancer, most cancers love estrogen. So if you're very large, you're producing so much fat, there's a likelihood that your chances of getting breast cancer are slightly increased. So higher fiber, less white bread, more whole wheat, bake your own, don't have any at all. When people say they're hungry, and this is a really typical in UK Western world thing, when you're hungry, you put some food in your mouth. Try drinking water. We do not drink enough water. Water is good for our kidneys, it's good for our hearts. We need to be drinking 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And I will put my hand up as a nurse. If I get half a bottle of water before midday, I'll be lucky. But that's the sort of stuff we need to think about. Less salt, saturated fats, sugar. We need to reduce fast food intake. Big thing about that. And if you want to lose weight, the best way to lose weight is in a club situation, or if you want to do just your friend situation, to have the support to give you, if you're saying, oh God, I'm not going to do it today, then someone's encouraging you to keep going, keep doing it. It's a really good way. So then it was smoking. Smoking is bad for you. I can say that because I don't smoke. But it is, if you smoke, you can get lung cancer, but you can get lung cancer without smoking. Alcohol is not good for your liver at all, and reducing it, it does increase your susceptibility to breast cancer. It's a risk for breast cancer. And so I've got to put my nurse's hat on there and say, please stop smoking and reduce your alcohol intake. Try and avoid being overweight. One of the messages is, as I said earlier, 80% of all breast lumps are benign. Benign means they're normal, nothing to worry about, they're breast problems, but do not feel something out, it's not going to be nothing, I'm not bothered. No, go and see your GP, let them check it out to make sure it's nothing. So top tips, just recapping: knowledge is power, know your family history, be breast aware, go to your GP, and if you feel it's not right, just keep going back. If you go to one, he poo-poos you, go to another. Now, I know it's hard to get into your GP, but get be persistent, because they are the gateways for you to get to the breast clinic. You can't rock up to the hospital and say, I need to go to breast clinic. It doesn't work like that. Attend breast screening, keep physically active, avoid being overweight. And I said knowledge is power. So going through again, breast cancer care, cancer research, Macmillan, NHS, Copperfield, and Black Women Rising. There are loads out there. The one thing I say about searching on Google, Google brings up a lot of personal stories, which is fine, but some personal stories are very scary. And I've been doing this a long time, and it's just one perspective on a very big picture. Also, that a lot of stuff comes over from America, and America have a two-tier system from the point of view, those who have insurance and those who do not have insurance. So it's good to get UK information about what's happening here. It's sometimes not transferable. So, previous. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Right, okay, fantastic. I've got a few questions. Let me just go back now. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me go back to. So basically, let me see. High risk. Okay, so Donna B is asking, high risk family, is this age specific? Example, if my dad had cancer at 90, will this be similar for family members?
No, it's not age specific. So the main thing when I talk about getting your family history is, so for breast women, I can talk specifically about breast. For breast women, it is if your grandmother had breast cancer or any of her siblings, your great grandmother, your grandmother, your mother, and any of her siblings, and then any of your first cousins. We don't really go down to second, but if there's a big batch of you, we would want to know. So the other thing, just like other big families, some people aren't talking to people. So nobody knows what's going on. And that's the difficulty when you're trying to get the family history. I met a white person this week, and she's got a big 14 people in her family, and half of them don't speak. And she thinks one of her sisters had breast cancer, but she can't tell her. She can't ask her because they're not speaking. And I'm like, this is rubbish. That's rubbish. You need to find out, because she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. So therefore, the rest of the siblings need to know what's going on. So no, someone at 90, I wouldn't worry, because the older you get, so the cancer is cells divide, and you get an odd one. So it can happen at any age. It can happen to children, and it can happen to older people. But with breast cancer, if it's younger, anyone under the age of 35 downwards, then we would worry more. It's a family, a genetic problem. But if they're 50 to 71, we would say that's an average age for having breast cancer.
Okay, excellent. And Candy's asking, Charmaine, should women be getting an annual mammogram privately? Would you recommend this as opposed to the NHS every 3 years or whatever it is?
So I personally wouldn't, unless you've got the money, then please go ahead. And your work is paying for that insurance, fine. I can't recommend anything apart from go to your screening. I do know of people who may go in between. So it's not quite yearly, but they might go 18 months.
And in addition to that, Candy is saying, I'm convinced the only reason the NHS does every 3 years mammogram is a financial one. Discussed with this government.
No, research. Okay. No, definitely not.
Excellent.
And the problem is, it's difficult. Yes, I'm in the business, but I'm also honest. And we have found through research that that's what and also it's about equipment and blah, blah, blah. So, but if breast cancer usually at the age of 50 to 71 moves quite slowly. So that's why we can catch it within 3 years. If we did it every year, we might miss it. That's what that's the research has shown that.
And Everine is asking, what is the substitute if you don't or can't eat fish?
What as healthy option?
Yes, yes.
Vegetables.
Here you go. Nice and simple answer. Here you go. Yes, I'm just looking at the chat. All very appreciative. Charmaine, your presentation has been absolutely first class, on the point. And yeah, I'd like to say thank you for your presentation this evening on the BPM.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Brilliant.
Now, before we go to... Oh, we've got Jeff has put his hand up. Jeff, you want to say a few words?
Just one question. Fantastic presentation. Loved it. Learned so much. There is a question that I've been asked many a times by men. Do they get breast cancer also?
Yes, that was a question that I missed.
Yeah, no, I did say that. About 370 get diagnosed every year. It's probably 380 now. And that's why I was saying men do get it. It's easier to find on men because you haven't got much breast tissue unless you're very large. And if you're large, the larger you are, then maybe more percentage, you know, a way of you might be more at risk of breast cancer. But a lot of men who are diagnosed don't talk about it because it's a female disease. So breast cancer now do a fundraiser or a fashion show every year, and 2 years in a row they've had a male person be on it, just to bring the awareness that men do get breast cancer.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And can I just bring in there about Jeff, you said when you got diagnosed that it all went a bit blank. And research has shown us, because I've been a Macmillan nurse and we know this, that when someone is diagnosed with cancer and the doctor says it, they hear nothing else. So that's why Macmillan nurses were brought around to be that listening ear. You went to that discussion on your own. And I've got women who will come into knowing that they might get that result, and they'll come in on their own because they know their partner won't be able to cope with it. So they might bring a friend, they might bring their sister, but they know that they are going to be in the same situation. And they're sometimes really pleasantly surprised that there's a nurse there to pick up the pieces or to go through it again. And my role is to be there when they're being told, then let the doctor go away, do what he's got to do, the paperwork, and then I go back in and tell them the reality of it and what it really means to them, their family, their friends. You know, women getting diagnosed where their children are just about to do their exams and they're like, we're not going to tell them. And I'm like, they're going to know that something's happening. I've had patients who've kids have said, are you getting divorced? And they go, no, mum's got breast cancer. Oh, my teacher had that, she's fine, bye. What was all the fuss about? I'm gone. You know, and as parents, you want to protect your children, but you know, with Instagram, TikTok, everybody knows about it. And if we don't talk about it, how is that going to get out to everybody else?
Excellent, fantastic. June Elizabeth, I believe you got a question.
No, I just wanted to take this opportunity to again thank Charmaine, because we were both in the Nurses Association of Jamaica London branch, and 5 years ago my husband Sir Cliff was diagnosed with throat cancer, and Charmaine helped me through it. She was my buddy, and I'm pleased to say Sir Cliff celebrated his 85th birthday on the BPM. So I just take this opportunity to big her up again.
Thank you, June Elizabeth. Thank you.
No, that's fantastic. That is, yeah, no, that's actually very moving. Thank you very much, June. Galaxy, I've sent you an unmute. Galaxy A40. Good evening.
Hi, is that us?
Yes, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I did post this in the chat, but I don't know whether you saw it. I was late joining this evening, but thank you for everything that I've heard. And I don't know whether this was raised before, but I just really wanted to know, are there any other ways of screening other than mammogram?
No. So when we do breast screening nationally, mammograms are done because they are they're not 100%, and that's why we always listen to what the ladies say. So I've got patients who have a clear mammogram, but the ladies have said to us, oh, but there's a little lump that I'm worried about. So we would bring them in and check it out. Once we've done the mammogram and we've seen something on the mammogram, that's when they have the clinical examination and have the ultrasound, because the ultrasound is person specific. So if someone is not great at doing the ultrasound, you may get a dodgy one. So that's why mammograms are done. They're done in the machine. We get good pictures. If we don't get a good picture, if they're blurred, then we bring you back to have a better look. MRIs are very good, but sometimes they're too super sensitive. So they are not a screening tool at all. They're good for the high-risk ladies, but not for the general public. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much. So I wasn't sure whether I was back on mute. Thank you.
All right. Yep. Thank you very much
Cool.
for your question. And the very last question, well, it's not a question, it's just a comment in the chat from Everine. It says, my cousin had lung cancer, which spread to his brain, was given 3 months to live, stage 4. 18 months later, lung cancer has gone after treatment, and 99% of the tumour was removed. There is hope.
Man. So I would say that with breast cancer, we have very good survival rates. And that's why I've said in my talk that early detection is key. What I get sad about is women who know they've got a lump and they don't do anything about it. And I still see patients who, like Jeff said, I had a patient recently who came. She said she knew she had a lump for 2 years. She came, she got screened. We did a biopsy. We told her it was breast cancer. She goes, I know. I said, but why did you come if you knew? I just wanted you to check it and tell me it was cancer, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And I'm not going to tell my children. And I said, but you have 2 daughters and you should tell them that you've got breast cancer. No, I don't need to tell them. And there was nothing I could do with that woman. And I've also had professionals who know better. They've got breast cancer. They've never gone back to the doctors to get treatment. I've got patients who say that God will cure them. My standard line for that is, God is omnipotent. He's here everywhere. Would he have professional people here trying to help you if he didn't think we should? That is my answer.
And on that point, Charmaine, thank you very much. Wow, content, unbelievable. And thank you for the presentation once again. Thank you and good evening. Excellent. Okay, so just before we go to Natasha, who's been waiting there very patiently, above my head, for those of you who are on the platform for the very first time, if you want to subscribe to the BPM, you can either WhatsApp me or just email and we'll send you all the regular updates. What would the BPM do? Well, weekend we play music, Saturday, Sunday evenings, and then every now and again on a weekend, on a weekday, on a Thursday, we do debates like this. 2 weeks tonight, the BPM has a debate on sickle cell. We have got several speakers lined up. And just before we go to Natasha, while speaking to Charmaine, my brain got ticking. Now, if there is, talking about keeping healthy and being healthy, if there is Zumba instructors out there, or you know of a Zumba instructor that would like to set up a class of reggae, soul, or soca Zumba, let me know. I'll promote it and we could get some of you guys, family and friends. There's nothing better than dancing to your favorite music, big people music, doing Zumba and keeping fit. So if there is anybody out there who want to set that up, and knowing the BPM, the vast majority of the BPM followers are in London. So if there is someone out there, then contact me and we will definitely get it on the road, and the BPM will be supporting that. If Everine says Soca Zumba, hey, Soca Zumba, that sounds good to me. Natasha, good evening. You've been very patient.
That's okay. That's okay. Good evening, everyone. Do you know what? It's been such an amazing evening just to sit and listen to the previous speakers, Jeff and Michael. So much I can relate to in their story. And every journey with cancer is different. Things Charmaine has spoken about, you know, again, I can sort of relate to that. There are so many takeaway messages, I think, from here. And a big important one for me, I'm very passionate about spreading the word about cancer, especially within the Black community, because as we've seen from the previous speakers, we don't talk about it. And I just feel a big takeaway message is to know you're normal. So if there's anything that is different from that, then you get it investigated. So for me, I was the third lady in my family to have breast cancer. I was diagnosed back in November 2018. My aunt was diagnosed originally a couple of years before. And when she was diagnosed, it was a complete shock, because she was somebody who didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she was a picture of health. So for me to get my head around the fact that my aunt had breast cancer took a long time. Then after that, my mum got diagnosed, probably within a year after that, she got diagnosed as well. I wasn't somebody who checked my breasts because I was 45, didn't really need to check my breasts. I'm a nurse, so of course I'd know if I've got something that's wrong with me. But then when my mum got diagnosed, and thank God my aunt is on this platform now, she's absolutely fine, thanks be to God, and my mum as well, likewise myself. But then when my mum got diagnosed, I thought, do you know what? Maybe I should just check my breasts. I was 45.
Oh, she's muted herself. Yep, you're back with us.
Sorry, I had a phone call, sorry. Nice. I was 45 at the time. I'd just met a partner, life was good. So I kind of went to the GP. I remember the GP saying to me, right, it's just a lump. I don't think it's breast cancer because you don't fit the category of being 50 and over. So with any referrals for cancer, there's a 2-week turnaround. You're seen pretty much straight away. You go to the GP, they refer you through. So I remember going along to the one-stop clinic at Central Middlesex. And there you get seen by the doctor. You then go and have ultrasound that Charmaine spoke about, which is a scan where they go and have a look at the breast tissue. You then go and have a mammogram, which, yeah, it's uncomfortable because you saw from the pictures that Charmaine had showed. So they sort of squash your breast in a machine, but it's only for a few seconds. So I had that done. And I remember they did 2 scans on both sides, 2 mammogram pictures. And then she said, right, you can go and get dressed now. And then I remember the nurse calling me back in. And in my head, I thought, oh my gosh, they found something. And I remember having a lot more scans because as they're doing the scans, you've got the radiologists, they're in the other room looking at the pictures as they go through it. So then because this is all in the one appointment. So I then had to go and have a biopsy of the breast. So 2 samples of the breast, a lot less samples than with the prostate. So 2 samples of the breast was taken. They then take 1 from under the armpit just to see if the cancer has spread at all. So 3 in total. And then you've got the 2-week wait. Then I went back to the doctor. So I've been there for about 4 hours now. This is all within 2 weeks of seeing the GP. So I went back to see the doctor and I remember him pulling up the mammogram, having a look at it and doing that doctor face. Whether it's the fact that I just picked up on his face had changed, whether it's the fact that I'm used to doctors doing that face when something is not positive news. And I remember saying to him, what is it? And he sort of plundered, and I said, what is it? What have you seen on that mammogram? And I remember him saying to me, it looks like cancer. And that's all I heard, the cancer. And I remember saying to him, okay, but God will help me and get me through. And he said, right, you've got to wait for the 2 weeks and come back. And I remember leaving the hospital, the same hospital I worked in, the same consultants I worked with, because I would go and visit ladies at home who've had breast surgery. And I remember walking down the corridor just thinking, that's it. I am dead. I need to start planning my funeral. I need to work out how I'm going to tell my children, how I'm going to tell my family. And that's it. Life's pretty much over. And those 2 weeks, I tried to go to work and carry on and be normal. I just tried to be as normal as possible. But of course, I know the likelihood I've probably got breast cancer. So I go back after the 2 weeks. And I remember and it's funny how your brain processes and remembers. And I remember sitting in the waiting room, and it was a busy waiting room, and it went down to 4 patients. And I remember watching, as Charmaine spoke about the nurses, I remember watching them. It was almost like I was playing Russian roulette with, right, that nurse has gone into that room. So that nurse didn't go into that room. So that patient probably doesn't have cancer. And we got down to 4 women. My name was called. The nurse went into room 3, and then I was called into room 3. So I knew that the likelihood was I probably had breast cancer. So fast forwarding, I was stage 2. The cancer hadn't spread. And I never say my cancer because I don't own it. I say the cancer. It was a stage 2, hadn't spread, so it had stayed in the breast. It's quite, there's lots of different types of breast cancer, but the one that I had was quite what you would deem as a common one, hadn't spread at all. So I remember my options were to have surgery, remove the cancer, which I was going to have, the type of surgery I was going to have was a mammoplasty, which makes the breast slightly smaller. So I did have lots of options. I could have had the breast completely removed. I could have had the breasts made smaller. So I decided to have the cancer removed and go smaller. So I had that surgery done. Everything went well, went in for the day, came back home. I then had to, about 4 weeks later, go and see, I had a test, and that predicts the likelihood of the cancer coming back. And it's called the Oncotype test, and mine came back at 31. So I remember the oncologist saying, right, we recommend you have chemotherapy. And I remember her just talking to me, and I was literally just sitting in her room like that. And I remember her saying to my daughter, I'm going to talk to your daughter because I can see you're not listening to me. And I thought, why are you even talking to me? You've just told me I'm going to have chemotherapy. I really don't want to hear anything else you've got to say. It's almost like I'd taken an instant dislike to this doctor because now I've got to have chemotherapy. But I was sat with my daughter and I thought, I've got to have chemotherapy because I need to live. I've got my children. I need to live for my children. Like I said, at the beginning of my journey, I just met somebody and everything was going right. But in the end, I decided to, and you know, the gentlemen, the men were saying about their partners supporting them. I didn't have that support of a partner because we had just met. It was 9 months into the relationship, but he was acting as if he was the one who was diagnosed. And it was just too much for me. So I just broke it off. I didn't have the support of a partner. So I started chemotherapy. I had to have 12 sessions in total over the space of 5 months. And I remember having the first one and I went and sort of thought, right, I know I'm going to lose my hair, but you know, I'm a Black woman. We rock our hair in all different styles, weave, plait, wigs, what have you. So I remember going and speaking to the specialist nurse and saying, can I get a wig on the NHS? And this is one of the obstacles as Black women that we have when we lose our hair through cancer. they don't have any black wigs that suit women or is similar to our type hair. So I went and got my wig. The first chemotherapy I had, and I remember one of the gentlemen saying how he wet himself. The first chemotherapy I had, I remember thinking, actually, this chemo's all right, you know, because I feel absolutely fine. And for you ladies on there who have maybe had children and had nausea during pregnancy, chemotherapy nausea is just a different level to anything I'd experienced. But anyway, I got through it. The first 3 weeks, I remember I had my hair, I just used to have it out, but loosely plaited. And I remember just touching it and it started just coming out in my hands. And every day I would just gently comb it and it would come out in my hands, literally balls of hair. And in the end, I just got my brother to just shave it all off. Shaved it all off, continued on with the other cycles of chemotherapy, 12 in total. After the chemotherapy, I then had to have 20 cycles of radiotherapy. And that was just to make sure that they'd got every little drop of the cancer. If I had to pick a better part of the journey, it would have been the radiotherapy, because literally it's a bit like an X-ray machine. It didn't hurt me. It didn't cause any problems. Yes, it burnt the skin slightly, but, you know, radiotherapy really made me unwell. The surgery, I've lost some of my breasts. So I went through, had the radiotherapy, and I was off work for probably about a good year. But I think for me, it's just really important to raise the awareness, especially within Black women, because we don't talk about cancer. It's something that we would never really discuss, as Charmaine was saying. And what saddens me is, yes, Black women are less likely to be diagnosed than our white counterparts. However, we tend to be further along when we present in the clinics because we don't come forward when we find a lump. And sometimes it makes me think now, even when I was growing up and my nan would say so-and-so died, the likelihood is they probably died of cancer. And, you know, if we don't discuss these things, get these generational stories from our nan, this family history dies with them and we don't know. So when we go to present in clinics and when professionals like Charmaine say, what's your family history? We don't have one, because it's died along with our previous generation. So when I got the opportunity to do this, I jumped at it really, because I thought that it's just about raising awareness. I put my journey out on Instagram, good days and bad days, because cancer, as much as it's a journey for the individual, they are success stories. You're talking to some of us right now. Not everybody dies. And I think that's also the message we've got to get out there. We look at all the horror stories where, you know, my children's father diagnosed with lung cancer. Within 3 months, he was dead. Lung cancer spread to the brain, died 3 months later. But here I am, my aunt's on here as well, my mum, you know, lots of us on here, we are survivors. And for me, early detection is key. So I think anything that's not your normal, just go out there, get it checked out. Nobody wants to hear the words, I've got cancer, but it's better to hear the words, I've got cancer and we can help you, rather than you've left it too late and there's nothing we can do really. So where am I now in my journey? So Charmaine spoke about tamoxifen. So that's a drug that I take. It's just one tablet. I take that every evening and I've got to take that for 5 years. Once you've finished your treatments and everything, you have 5 years of annual mammograms. So I've got one more left to complete the 5. For me, I think there's a lot of misconceptions that people say things like, and you know, it's nobody's fault, but people say things like, oh, you finished your chemotherapy and you finished the radiotherapy, you're going to be fine now. Yes, I am. But do you know what now needs to heal? This needs to heal up here. But the hair's going to grow back, because I rocked my bald head because I thought, this is my story, this is my song. And if I can rock my bald head just to help other people, My hair's going to grow back. My eyelashes are going to grow back. It's all going to grow back. But it was my mind, because all of a sudden, people like Charmaine aren't there anymore. You don't have the doctors checking you every week. You're not having scans, and you're just left now, not completely, but you've now got to recover. Then you've also got all the physical side effects of the chemotherapy, because now your body's trying to repair itself. So you've got all of that you've got to deal with. But I think for me, the biggest learning curve after everything was finished was the emotional healing. And you still have thoughts now that you've just got to try and push to the back of your head. You know, you might have a little twinge and think, oh my gosh, cancer. And you've got to think, no, it isn't. So yeah, it's just really, I'm trying to think if I've got anything down, because I could talk about this all day, and I know we don't have time. But for me, it's just, like I say, about raising the awareness. Yes, chemotherapy is a tough journey, but I just used to tick every day off. And that's all you can do. And I would just ask the good Lord to help me through every day. I remember I can't remember if it was Jeff or Michael, spoke about suicide. And I remember one day I used to go for walks, just walk down, you know, to try and keep your joints, because your joints get so painful you can't even walk. I couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs. I remember one day trying to bend down to hang some clothes out, and I just couldn't do it. So I used to try and go for walks every day to keep my mind active, keep my body moving. And I remember looking at the bridge, and I just thought, you know what? It's just easier if I just jump off the bridge on the North Circular, because if I time it right, a car's probably definitely going to hit me. But then it's almost like God said, no, I'm here helping you through. And at some point, you will use your journey to help others. And this is a fine example. So in a nutshell, that's just my story. And I'm going to stop talking, because like I said, I'll keep you here till 3 o'clock in the morning talking about breast cancer. But yeah, so that's my story. And I thank God for getting me to where he's got me to now. And obviously health professionals as well. And I think, you know, being a nurse, my brain races where it doesn't need to go. But being a nurse and being a patient are two different things. When I'm like Charmaine, I've got the uniform on, I have the autonomy, I have the power, I'm the support for you. But when you're the patient, you are completely on the other side. And sometimes you even lose. Yes, I know the questions to ask, and I know what the blood results mean, but you are a patient. So yeah, that's my journey. That's my journey.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Can I ask you a question regarding mammogram? Now, obviously being a male, well, I say obviously, but I'm going to admit my ignorance. I didn't realise that the mammogram was so intrusive and painful. Do you think that, obviously the women know about it more than myself, do you think that that fear of the pain has stopped women from actually getting tested?
I think so. And, you know, I'm so glad that Charmaine showed a picture of it. And I think for a lot of women, they have the fear of, oh my goodness. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, it is uncomfortable. But I just think it's only for a few seconds. Normally they ask you to hold your breath anyway for some of the images. And they are so quick at doing it, because obviously they're conscious that your breasts are being clamped between two sort of metal things. So it's quick. Literally, by the time you think, ow, 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 it's done. And that ow, 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 ow is the potential of what is going to save you if you are diagnosed with cancer. So yeah, it's not comfortable, but it's necessary. You know, if I didn't have it, I probably wouldn't be here speaking to you now. So yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah, I saw a comment earlier on about Everine. She was talking about it, and Joy has posted, you have to experience it to fear it. Wow. I didn't realize it was that intrusive. When we speak to Errol, we're going to talk about the stigma in males having the finger up the rectum, but apparently there is change in that direction, which we will speak about with Errol. But in the meantime, Natasha, thank you extremely for being on the BPM this evening, sharing your experiences, and hopefully, like I said, tonight is all about raising awareness and getting us men and the women to get tested and hopefully save their lives. So once again,
Thank you.
yep, thank you very much. Errol, where's Errol? He's been a patient man. Errol, I know you was there. Turn your camera on so I could unmute you. Where is he? And he will be the last speaker. In the meantime, has anybody got any questions? Anybody want to come on live? I'll unmute you. You could come on and say a few words. We will be closing in half an hour. Well, we'll be closing in half an hour's time, but we go through until 11 o'clock. Is Errol actually on? Let me have a look. E-R-R-O. No, Errol has actually logged out. So I've got K15 with a hand up. Let's unmute K15 and see. Or was that a hand up? I'm not too sure. I've sent K15_+ a request to be unmuted. Good evening.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
And who are we speaking to?
Yeah, you're speaking to Carlton Thompson.
Carlton, good evening, sir.
Yeah, I just joined the program because I kind of know Jeff almost very well.
Mm.
Yeah, he has come to our church to do he came with when they were doing some prostate cancer thing.
Mm.
Yeah, but one of the reasons why I hold up my hand, first I want to say thanks for everyone, the information, and to Sister Charmaine in our final words, what you were saying about the lady with God will help and the professionals, God send the professionals. So that's one of the problems with us. God says seek a physician, but whenever he put us in that position, we don't really accept it. We're gone somewhere else looking for what he puts in front of us. So leave that and saying that time when they came to our church to do the prostate thing, I was one of them who signed up. And they say like the next week they would contact me to check or something, me and a couple more brothers. But up till today, I think it's about 2 years now. No one contact us. So I'm just thinking that maybe some of the things sometimes we put ourselves forward, but things don't carry through. I don't know. And the next thing is these valuable information sometimes it just cut out when you're getting these valuable information, but I understand internet and all those things. But I just want to say thank you for you and everyone else that speak, especially our final nurse that just speak this minute before me.
Yeah,
and God bless you, and I keep praying for you all.
Yeah, before you go, Carlton, could you explain what you mean when you say you were trying to follow up, but everything just quote unquote cut out? Explain that part. Exactly what you mean?
Yeah, they take our name, our email address, everything, and they say they would contact us for us to go and test, because like I'm 50, so they say it's good to check. And then me and Jeff was speaking after, and then we find out that we are both Thompson. So then we speak a little bit more. And yeah, since then, those people, I don't see any email, they don't contact me. So sometime I'm saying maybe those things, men, they would want to do it at that point in time. But then when nothing follow up, they just leave it alone. You know, because I've been to my doctor once to check, and they check and they say, I think it was maybe when I was 45 or something, and they say I didn't have prostate. But then after I speak to Jeff now at that day at the forum thing, I'm saying, yeah, I wanna go and check again and make sure. But these, it wasn't Jeff people. He just came to the thing after, and that's when he was speaking to some of us after they finish. Yeah. Well, I still don't get any contact, and I did that.
Yeah, obviously that wasn't part of Jeff's organization, but Jeff is
yeah, that's
actually
what
here.
I said.
Jeff's hi.
Hi. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember very well when I came to that particular gathering.
Yeah, and Shiloh Worship Center. Yeah,
that's right. And I totally understand what you're saying, because you're not the only gentleman that was there.
Yeah,
I didn't get a follow-up.
Yeah.
So what I then realized, because I think when I came there, I had to sort of like explain a little bit more in detail.
Yes, you did.
Going on.
Yeah.
To me, some of unfortunately, some of the information that was given was what I would call false information.
Yes.
So I had to take, a couple of the brothers aside and explain to them what really, is going on, and how important it is, to get your prostate checked. Carlton, if you've not had the opportunity of any follow-ups, you're there, you're a part of Cancer Dollar Win group. I could always assist and point you in the right direction to get the follow-up that you need, or whatever test that you may need, or whatever information you need. We're here for you. So you could always give me a direct message or call, and I'll organize something for you. Okay, sir.
Excellent. Thank you.
And thank everyone for as I say again, the valuable information, to see the things that so many people goes through. But it's something that we always been praying for still, and praying for all you guys. So yeah, I'm grateful. I'm happy I joined tonight too.
Excellent. Fantastic. Okay, Jeff, once again, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Now, just before we go to Lou Gomes, Errol, let me just do another check. Errol looks as though he's logged off. So we may have had our final speaker. And before we go to Lou Gomes, can I just say that tonight, if you have missed anything or you wasn't too sure what was said, this recording, and it's going to be 2.5 hours of it, will be on YouTube in the morning. It will be on YouTube in the morning. All you need to do is to go into YouTube, and I'll tell you what, let me make it easy for you. Let me make it very easy for you. Just bear with me 1 second. One thing I love about the Zoom is that everything is live and nothing is pre-recorded. So, big people music promotions. Okay, so I've gone into, there you go, Big People Music Promotions. I'm going to send the link in the chat right now. Okay, so that is one of our debates. That particular debate that I've just posted inside the chat was it was when the black girl got attacked outside Thomas Kinvert College in Ashford. Go into that link and subscribe. We've got 135 subscribers. When you subscribe, you will get notification of when the video of tonight is posted on YouTube. Subscribe and then press the bell. The bell is the notification that will let you know when the video is out, or just simply type in the Big People Music Promotions and it will come up. Lou Gomes, let me send you an invitation to unmute. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, thanks so much for hosting this meeting.
Excellent.
Thanks for the invite. Appreciate you so much. I've been tested for prostate, and the doctor advised me to take a test every 6 months because my numbers was I tested negative, but they felt that I should take the test every 6 months to keep an eye on it. Also, I put in a request for someone to call me because I have an issue that I want to discuss. Since it's been recorded, I'd rather talk in private.
Okay, yeah.
I have some more questions. That's very important. Well, it's the medical concerns I have with the hospital. I feel there's some negligence. I'm just concerned about that.
Right. So you obviously got a personal issue with the hospital, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so, what was your journey regarding prostate? And
I say I tested negative, but my brother had, he had been treated. The only one person in my family so far has been treated for prostate cancer. But I just want to just keep my test once a year, at least every 6 months. The doctors request I take a test. So I just want to make sure that they stay on top of it,
Right. Yes. And when you took the test, what was your PSA reading?
I should have wrote it down, but I don't have the information right now on hand. But when I go back this another 2 days, I should get my results. I will know it by then.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And so, is this the first time you've actually logged on to the BPM?
It's been a while. It's been a while since the last time.
Right. And I hear a twang in your voice. What part of the world are you calling from?
Well, I live in Nottingham, but I'm born and raised in Bermuda.
There you go. I thought so.
I have a background in addiction. Been working in substance abuse for about 40 years. So I'm retired now, but I started working in addiction in 1982 in Bermuda, and I've done some work in the UK. I'm doing volunteer work now with a drug and alcohol program on a volunteer basis.
Excellent. And so regarding the prostate cancer, when you were tested, did you find it quite intrusive, or did that not bother you?
No, I didn't mind at all because I had taken the test a couple of times before. It was just an injection. They take the blood test.
Right. Okay. So you just had a blood test.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, sir. I'd like to thank you very much for your input and coming live on the BPM. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Now, Jeff, I don't know whether or not your hand is up from before or whether or not it is up. Is it up? Do you want to come on again? Yes? Yes, you do. Okay, cool. There you go.
Okay, it was just a quick reference to what you said earlier on about the changes that's actually in place now.
I was actually going to speak about that because Errol, I had a conversation with Errol, was it this morning or was it yesterday? And he shocked me when he told me that there are changes, or there has been a change regarding how men are tested. So I was going to talk about it, but only from memory as to what he told me. So I'm glad that you've actually come back because as you know, and as probably most people still believe, which I did up until the conversation, is that I believe that the only true, apart from a blood test, the only other way to be tested is by having a lubricated finger up your rear end, basically. But apparently, things have changed. This is where I pass the baton to yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Because I wish 5 years ago, things had changed for me, then I wouldn't have had to go through what I went through. So what it is now, you have your blood test, which is PSA blood test. Then the next step from the blood test is an MRI scan. Now, apparently the MRI scan they've got now is so accurate that there is no need for the finger up the rear end. And, going through that, you got your MRI scan, and then from the MRI scan, if there is any other, a point that need to examine you further, It's now with a biopsy. And so the finger up the bum, as we say, is now a case where doctors are no longer told you have to do this or refer, gentlemen, to have the finger at the bum. You can actually turn around and say, no, no, thank you. I don't want that. Yeah. So it's not a must anymore. As we know, we're told that the finger up the bum, the DRE, was the only physical way to feel the prostate. Yeah. So as we say, now it's a choice. If you go to the doctors and they say, look, we'd like to examine you through the rear end, you could turn around and say, no, thank you. And they have to, adhere to what you say.
I'm looking in the chat, and Eldridge, he says, my good health is more important than my ego. So I have had prostate health checks since in my 40s. I think Eldridge is in his 60s, I think. So quite a long while he's been doing his regular checks, to include the rectum digital check that so many men have a homophobic fear of. So basically you're saying that now is no longer the case?
No, not at all.
Wow. Oh, I see a hand up. Okay, so you stay there, Jeff, because we are going to have Delroy, who I've sent a request. I do know that Delroy is a big Dennis Brown fan, and the BPM has a Dennis Brown night this Sunday. Good evening, Delroy.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
What I wanted to make is that there is hope on the horizon. The MRI scan came from Nottingham University, and they now have a more powerful MRI imaging which will incorporate the biopsy. So very soon, biopsy is extremely painful, but very soon there won't be any need for it. Just this MRI scan will be so powerful that it will detect all the differentiation which you associate with cancer cells. And another point I just want to make is that with the blood test, you can have false negative. And this occur, I can speak from experience, because my friend died from it. On the Friday, he was going to the bank to get some money to go on holidays because all his tests were so negative. And on Monday, I watched him die. So there's a lot of, false negative results, which can be, well, I don't know if you realize this, but women don't have prostate, yeah? But if you do the PSA test on ladies, very often you get positive results.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, because, PSA, to be sure, it means prostate-specific antigen. So basically, if you don't have a prostate, you should not have a positive prostate result. And so women don't have a prostate, and women have been known to record high levels of PSA. So we've got to be careful. But just to underline, the hope on the horizon is that this MRI scan is so powerful that it will just identify unequivocal. Because again, where we are now, the only sort of really positive way of identifying a cancerous cell is by biopsy. Yeah. So basically, you know, when you do biopsy, you're seeing the differentiations in the cell. You're seeing that it's changed. You're seeing that it's cancerous. When you have a generic MRI scan, it doesn't really tell you that. It might tell you that the cell is abnormal, but you know, it might not give you the 100% proof that is required.
Can I interrupt there? Can I?
Yes, certainly.
And the first point that Delroy has made is correct. The PSA, you know, it's not as accurate as one would think. A lot of false positives. This is part of the reason why we find that the NHS I'm hearing are arguing the point of doing a screening, you know, through the PSA. I mean, yeah, right? Because they don't believe that it's 100% accurate. And there are times where, you know, I've said before that, you know, if a man has had, you know, sexual contact like today and he goes to have his PSA checked tomorrow, his PSA levels will raise. Yeah, so if he goes back up 3 or 4 days after, you'll find his PSA levels will decline. So a lot of times where activities, you know, a lot of movement, cycling, weightlifting, you know, those type of physical exercise that you're doing. And if you go and have a PSA test the next day, your PSA levels will be high. Yeah. The other point also, yes, we do hear that women, you know, and I find that quite strange when I done some research and found this out, that women, you know, do have a prostate. And I was like, what? Yeah. And they do produce, you know, the estrogen just like what men will have. But this lies within, between the clitoris area, okay, which is a part, you know, that gets erect. And that to me was quite an eye opener. And we're not really taught about, you know, things like that. We don't expect that. So, but, you know, when I sat back and I thought to myself, when we're, you know, children, you know, we're just a fetus growing, you know, as I said, we're all, you know, one sex, and then eventually we all change from male to female. I can totally understand that. But that was a big, you know, surprise to me. I'm glad you brought it up, Delroy, because I've had the arguments with my sisters. She used to say, I have a prostate. And I said, no, you haven't. Only men have a prostate. But is it really a prostate, or is it that they produce the same type of, you know, specific antigen like the male prostate?
Yeah.
That was the question I asked.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just correct you there, because 100% ladies haven't got prostate.
That's right.
But basically, the whole reaction is that if an antibody is present in your system, then your system produces what's called an antigen to fight it off, right? So the system might misidentify, yeah, this antibody, and you get the same reaction like the prostate-specific antigen. Another point here is that, you know, when you look at the results for PSA tests, you're perhaps not aware that there are some levels when people will have 2,000, over 2,000. You know, we're talking about under 4, you know, there is sort of PSA results which will give you 2,000 to 5,000. And if you have a result like that, there's no false negative here, you know? But when it's sort of within the, when I say normal range, sort of like 4, 5, 6, yeah? But when you have really well, big results like 5,000 because they do exist. You know, we're not aware of it because now it's sort of saying that when you have the annual PSA, it should be less than 0.1. Less than 0.1, and you're fine. You know, there's no trace then.
Yeah, I recall after having my PSA blood test after my operation, my levels was 0.00. So, you know, which is what they call undetectable. Yeah, which at that point I felt pretty satisfied. Yeah. You know, but as we're talking, you know, what really dawned on me is the fact that, you know, obviously, you know, we're talking about the PSA, blood test, and prostate cancer. There's one thing I've always got to say, and it means a lot to me. Like within my organization, we had a young man I was talking about yesterday. He was 20 years old and he had prostate cancer. He lived for 6 months because the cancer became aggressive. Now, like I said, within my organization, got over 38 men under the age of 40 that has prostate cancer. So this kind of, you know, really, you know, reaches my heart to say that I think we need, as people here on this platform, need to talk more to our youngers about prostate cancer and the awareness of prostate cancer, because it's taking our young men at an earlier age. Not the 70s and the 80s, which I was told when I was younger. And we obviously, as a community, need to really rally around and help or do something about it. And I think it's through knowledge, educating, you know, the young people coming up, because we want to save our race. We have to reach out to the young people because they are the next generation that will continue from us.
Absolutely. And
point, just the last point.
Okay.
A lot of us don't realize what is cancer. It is basically a random occurrence. It shouldn't happen. Basically, you've got messenger RNA messaging saying that you should produce a certain cell, and after a certain time, you should stop and start again. All those are programmed, yeah? So you should live to be 90, say, and that message will be constant. And you shouldn't have cancer. But along the way, there's this random occurrence and the message gets contaminated. And so instead of stopping, it continues. And that breeds what's called a tumor. Now the tumor can be cancerous or not, but you should, within your system, yeah, have a mechanism to stop, yeah? So like the red blood cells survive for 3 months. After 3 months, it makes new ones, yeah? So this is the basis, probably I'm talking too much, but probably that's the basis of, say, the diabetes blood test. You know, glucose, hemoglobin, you know that after 3 months, those cells should die. And the message should be there to produce new ones, yeah? And then when you've got enough produced, you should stop. And then you start again after 3 months. That is all in our system. But like I say, what cancer is all about, yeah, is a random occurrence, yeah? Things happen that shouldn't happen. The message gets contaminated, yeah? And then you produce a series of cells which shouldn't be there. Because don't forget, when you have chemotherapy, and chemotherapy, the whole strategy is based on the chemo will destroy the cancerous cell, and it will also destroy the healthy cells. But the cancerous cell has got no memory. Yeah, it shouldn't be there. So then it doesn't come back. But we know it can come back. But basically, that's the whole idea behind chemo. You've got two types of cells, the normal cells and the cancer cells, yeah? And then when you kill the normal cells, because it's written in your blueprint to make those cells again, you should make them. But the cancer cells isn't written in your blueprint. So they don't come back, or they shouldn't come back. And you can constantly keep treating it, yeah? Because when you kill those, they shouldn't come back. And you keep having chemotherapy, and then it shouldn't come back. And then you can ring the bell. Okay, sorry, I'm perhaps.
Not a problem. Very insightful and very educational. And Jeff Thompson also, I'd like to thank you also for being on the BPM this evening. I should say there is going to be a part 2 in due course. So Jeff and Natasha, Charmaine, and all of those who's been on, Denise, yep, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to stop that at that, and I'm going to mute that. Okay, so we are about to end the stream, but we will continue until 11 o'clock. So I'd like to say thank you. 2 weeks tonight, on the same link which you clicked on this evening, we're going to be debating on sickle cell. Got several speakers, and that should be an extremely educational night on the BPM. So for now, for YouTube purposes, this YouTube link viewing will be available in the morning, and as I said, I've sent the links inside the chat. The Big People Music Promotions, this is what you type into YouTube. So for now, until 2 weeks time, we will see you again on the BPM debate show. Thank you very much, and as I said, we will see you on the 11th of May.